I used to think planning a wedding was supposed to be one of the happiest times in a couple's life. People always told me, enjoy it, it goes by so fast. But the truth? Planning a wedding can be exhausting, stressful, and expensive. Still, I loved it. I loved flipping through bridal magazines at night, circling centerpieces, bookmarking hairstyles, and making lists. I loved walking past boutiques with gowns in the window and imagining myself in them. Most of all, I loved the feeling that Ethan and I were in this together. At least, that's what I thought. Ethan and I had a plan. We weren't rich. We weren't poor either, but we both agreed early on that weddings could spiral out of control if we weren't careful. So, we opened a shared savings account just for the wedding. Every paycheck, we each put a little aside. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. I skipped lattes. I stopped buying new shoes. When my friends went on spontaneous shopping trips, I told them I couldn't. I packed lunches instead of buying food at work. Every dollar I saved, I imagined going toward flowers, food, or maybe a photographer who could capture every smile and tear. I told myself it was worth it. It was for our future. Ethan liked to joke about it sometimes. Wow, Rachel, you're really stretching that budget, he'd laugh when I ordered the cheapest thing on the menu. I'd smile back and say, that's because I'm saving for us. He would kiss my cheek and say, I know. And I appreciate it. At least, that's what I thought he meant. One Friday night, about 3 months before the wedding, I logged into our account just to check on the balance. I was curled up on the couch in sweatpants, my laptop warming my knees. I clicked through the login, typed our password, and waited for the screen to load. Then I froze. The number at the top of the screen looked wrong. Way wrong. My heart skipped. I rubbed my eyes, thinking I had typed something wrong. But no! The balance was there, staring back at me. It was half of what it should have been. My stomach dropped. I scrolled down to see the transactions. That's when I saw it. A huge withdrawal, thousands of dollars, in one day. From Las Vegas. At first, I thought it was some kind of scam. Fraud, maybe. I grabbed my phone, ready to call the bank. But before I could dial, the front door opened. Ethan walked in, whistling, tossing his keys onto the counter. His hair was messy, and he wore the same t-shirt he always wore after guys' nights. Hey babe, he said, leaning down to kiss my forehead. What's up? I closed the laptop slowly and stared at him. Ethan, did you take money out of our savings? He froze for just a second. Then he grinned. Oh. That. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it? My voice was sharper than I meant. There's thousands of dollars missing. He shrugged, kicking off his shoes. Relax. It was for the bachelor party. The guys wanted to go big. Vegas, you know? We had to do it right. I just stared at him. You used our wedding savings for your bachelor party? He flopped onto the couch like nothing was wrong. Come on, Rachel. It's tradition. You only get one bachelor party in your life. I felt my cheeks heat. Tradition? Tradition is a couple saving together for their future. Tradition is respect. You took the money we saved for our wedding and blew it in one weekend. He rolled his eyes. Don't be so dramatic. We'll make it back. Besides, it was my money too. My chest tightened. No, Ethan. It wasn't just your money. It was ours. I skipped things for months so we'd have that money. Do you know how many times I said no to myself because I wanted this wedding to be beautiful? He waved a hand, already scrolling on his phone. You worry too much. Everything's fine. You'll still get your flowers and your cake. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw his phone across the room. But instead, I closed my laptop, walked past him, and locked myself in our bedroom. I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, tears stinging my eyes. My chest rose and fell in sharp, angry breaths. How could he? How could he take what we had built together and waste it like that? How could he sit there so smug, like it didn't matter? On the nightstand, my bridal magazine sat open to a page with a model in a gown that shimmered like stars. I reached over and touched the page with my fingers. I whispered to myself, I gave up so much. And he didn't give up anything. The anger twisted inside me, but beneath it, something else started to take shape. A thought. A spark. If he could use our savings for his fun, maybe I could use his money for mine. I rolled onto my side, clutching the magazine close. My eyes narrowed as an idea formed. If you found out your fiancé had blown your wedding savings on a bachelor party, what would you do? Confront him and demand it back, or let him find out later when you made your own move? Let me know in the comments, and also let me know where you are watching from. What time is it where you are? Make sure to subscribe to this channel for more sweet revenge wedding stories. The next morning, I woke up still angry. I rolled over and saw Ethan snoring beside me, looking peaceful, as if nothing had happened. The memory of our fight from the night before hit me all over again. The bank account. The Vegas trip. The money gone. I stared at the ceiling and whispered, why do I feel like I'm the only one who cares? Ethan stirred, mumbling something about breakfast. I slipped quietly out of bed and made coffee just to give myself space. I sat at the kitchen table, sipping slowly, scrolling through wedding photos online. Brides in glowing gowns. Grooms looking proud. Smiles frozen forever in beautiful moments. And then I thought of my wedding. Our savings had been cut in half. My dream dress, the one I had circled in magazines, felt farther away than ever. And Ethan? He didn't even seem to care. Later that day, I called my maid of honor, Maya. She always knew what to say. Maya, I said as soon as she picked up. He spent the money. The savings. On Vegas. On the bachelor party. Her gasp was loud enough to make me pull the phone from my ear. What? Rachel, are you serious? He actually did that? Yes, I said, trying not to cry. He didn't even look guilty. He just said it was tradition. Tradition, my foot, she snapped. That's not tradition. That's selfish. You worked so hard to save for that wedding. And he just, ugh. I sighed, rubbing my temples. I don't know what to do. I feel like I've been cheated. You have been cheated, Maya said firmly. But maybe you need to stop being the one who sacrifices all the time. Maybe it's your turn to take something for yourself. Her words sank deep into me. For myself. A few days later, I was walking downtown to clear my head. The streets were lined with little shops, cafes, and boutiques. The air smelled like coffee and fresh bread. People carried shopping bags, laughing, enjoying their day. That's when I saw it. In the window of a bridal boutique stood a gown. Not just any gown. The gown. The same one I had dog-eared in magazines. The one I had dreamed of slipping into, of walking down the aisle in. It shimmered like water under the lights, elegant and timeless. I stopped in my tracks. My heart thudded. It was more beautiful than the pictures. The lace was delicate, the the bodice perfect, the skirt flowing like a dream. It was the kind of dress brides cry over. The kind of dress people remember. I pressed my hand to the glass and whispered, "If only." A woman inside the shop caught my eye and smiled. She opened the door. "Would you like to try it on?" I hesitated. My voice shook. I can't afford it." She smiled warmly. "Trying is free." Before I knew it, I was inside the boutique. The air smelled faintly of lavender. Soft music played in the background. The consultant helped me into the gown, her hands gentle as she zipped it up. When I turned to the mirror, my breath caught. It was like the dress was made for me. It hugged where it should, floated where it should. It was elegant but not over the top. Classic but still modern. I spun slowly, the skirt flowing around me. My eyes filled with tears. For a moment, I forgot all the anger and pain. For a moment, I felt like a bride again. "Wow," the consultant whispered. "That dress was waiting for you." I smiled weakly, but my chest ached. Waiting for me, maybe. But it was out of reach. When she told me the price, my heart sank. It was more than I had ever planned to spend. More than I could ever justify now, with our savings cut in half. I shook my head. "It's beautiful, but it's impossible." She nodded, kindness in her eyes. "It happens. But sometimes, brides find a way." Her words lingered as I changed back into my clothes. That evening, Ethan left his jacket on the back of the chair. I went to hang it up, and that's when I felt something heavy in the pocket. I reached in and pulled out a sleek, platinum credit card. His card. I stood there staring at it. My pulse quickened. The dress flashed in my mind. The shimmer. The way it fit perfectly. The way it made me feel like myself again. And then the memory of the Vegas charge slammed back. Thousands of dollars gone, blown on drinks, casinos, and tradition. Money we had saved together. Money I had sacrificed for. My jaw tightened. If he could swipe away our future for one night of fun, why couldn't I swipe this card for one thing that actually mattered? I sat at the kitchen table with the card in front of me. I stared at it like it was both a weapon and a key. Part of me screamed, "No! Don't stoop to his level." Another part whispered, "Why not? He did it first. He took from you. Why shouldn't you take from him?" I pictured the dress again. The way it sparkled. The way it made me feel powerful, beautiful, worthy. Then I pictured Ethan laughing, tossing his phone on the couch, brushing off my anger. "Relax, babe. It's tradition." My fists clenched. I whispered aloud, "If he can spend on Vegas, I can spend on me." I slipped the card back into his jacket pocket, but the thought wouldn't leave me alone. It buzzed in my brain all night like a bee trapped in a jar. The next day, I walked past the boutique again. The dress was still there, waiting. I paused, my hand on the door. My reflection in the glass looked torn. This was it. The moment to decide. If you found your fiancé's platinum card after you wasted your savings, would you swipe it for your dream gown, or would you walk away? Tell me in the comments, and subscribe to see what I did next. The boutique door chimed as I stepped inside. The smell of lavender greeted me again, soft and calming, almost mocking my racing heart. The consultant from last time smiled as though she had been expecting me. "Back again?" she asked, her eyes twinkling. I nodded nervously. "Yes. I can't stop thinking about that dress." She clasped her hands. "That's how you know it's the one." I followed her toward the back, every step heavy. My fingers kept brushing against my purse, where Ethan's platinum card lay hidden. Slipping into the dress the second time felt even more surreal. The fabric slid over my skin like a whisper. When the zipper closed, it was like the gown hugged me in reassurance. I turned toward the mirror. It was perfect. The lace gleamed softly under the lights. The bodice cinched in just right. The skirt swirled when I spun slowly. Tears pricked my eyes again, but this time I didn't push them back. The consultant smiled knowingly. See? It was waiting for you. I whispered to myself, yes. It was. But then reality hit. The price tag. The memory of our halved savings. The thought of Ethan's smug grin as he bragged about his Vegas weekend. I bit my lip hard. Could I really do this? Swipe his card? Wasn't that crossing a line? But then again, hadn't he already crossed it first? He had taken from our shared savings, money I had sacrificed to save, without a second thought. He had blown it all on casinos, drinks, and strippers, and then told me to relax. I had tightened my belt, cut corners, lived frugally. And what did I get in return? Mocked for being careful. I touched the soft lace at my hip. This dress wasn't just fabric. It was proof. Proof that I could choose myself. The consultant came closer. Would you like me to ring it up? My heart thundered. I reached into my purse and pulled out the card. The platinum gleamed in the boutique's light. For a second, I hesitated. I imagined Ethan's face when he saw the charge. Anger. Shock. Maybe betrayal. But then I remembered his words, it was my money too. I held the card tighter. Yes, I said firmly. Ring it up. The machine beeped as the card slid through. My stomach flipped. It felt like skydiving, thrilling and terrifying all at once. The consultant smiled. Congratulations, she said, slipping the receipt into a little envelope. This is a once-in-a-lifetime dress for a once-in-a-lifetime day. I smirked slightly. Yes, I said under my breath. Once in a lifetime. Before leaving, I scribbled 3 words on the back of the receipt in pen, for the party. It was my secret joke. My little jab. I didn't take the gown home. That would have been too risky. Instead, I called Maya. She picked up on the first ring. Well, she asked breathlessly. I did it, I whispered, my voice shaky. I bought it. With his card. Her gasp was followed by laughter. Rachel! You did it! I am so proud of you. Can I keep it at your place? I asked quickly. If Ethan sees it, he'll know. Of course, she said. Bring it here. We'll keep it safe. I drove straight to her apartment, the gown hanging in its protective bag in the back seat. My eyes flicked to it in the rearview mirror over and over, like I couldn't believe it was really mine. When we carried it inside, Maya unzipped the bag just enough to peek. Rachel, it's stunning. He won't even know what hit him. I smiled for the first time in days. He won't know until the bill comes. When I got home that evening, Ethan was sprawled on the couch, watching TV. A pizza box sat open on the coffee table. He looked up lazily. Hey, he said, his mouth full. The guys and I were just talking about how epic Vegas was. Best weekend ever. I forced a smile. Glad you had fun. He grinned. Yeah. You should have seen it. Totally worth every penny. My blood boiled, but I kept my face calm. I sat beside him, nodded, and pretended to listen. Inside, I hugged my secret closer. He had his party. I had my gown. Over the next few days, I caught myself smiling at odd times. At work, while pouring coffee. At night, brushing my teeth. In the car, at stoplights. The thought of that gown waiting at Maya's place gave me a strange kind of peace. For once, I hadn't been the one to give everything up. For once, I had taken something too. Ethan complained one night about his credit card bill. Man, they're still processing some charges from Vegas. It looks brutal, he groaned. I sipped my tea and hid a smile. Don't worry, I said sweetly. I'm sure it was worth it. At night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. My mind ran circles. Was I wrong? Was I petty? Or was this exactly what I needed to do? Every time I pictured that gown, the answer felt clearer. It wasn't just revenge. It was balance. He had used our money for one wild night. I had used his money for something that would last forever, or at least, for the day that mattered most. Each day, I knew the clock was ticking. One day soon, Ethan would see the bill. One day soon, his face would drop. But I wasn't scared anymore. I almost looked forward to it. Because when he asked me where the charge came from, I'd just smile and say, from the same place your bachelor party came from. Would you have told him right away that you used his card, or would you wait and let him see the bill later? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more sweet wedding revenge stories. The days after I bought the gown moved like a movie in slow motion. Each morning, I woke up with a quiet little secret tucked inside me like a spark. I carried it to work, carried it to the grocery store, carried it even when I sat across from Ethan at dinner. He didn't notice. Not at first. About a week later, Ethan sat at the kitchen table with his laptop open. His forehead creased as he scrolled. He rubbed his temples and let out a low groan. What's wrong? I asked, stirring my tea slowly. This bill, he muttered. My credit card. It's insane. I didn't think Vegas would hit me this hard. I bit the inside of my cheek to hide a smile. He shook his head. There's all these little charges. Drinks, tables, cover fees. It adds up. He leaned back, running his hands through his hair. Man, I went a little too crazy. I sipped my tea calmly. I'm sure it was worth it. He gave me a half grin, proud despite the stress. Oh, it was. Best weekend of my life. My fingers tightened around my mug. Best weekend of his life. Not our wedding. Not our future. A drunken weekend with his buddies. I forced a smile. Glad you enjoyed yourself. Inside, the spark in me grew hotter. Every time he complained about money, I felt a strange kind of calm. He had chosen his fun over our future, and now I had chosen my gown over his comfort. Balance. When he wasn't looking, I would close my eyes and picture the gown waiting at Maya's apartment. I imagined the gasp of the guests when I walked down the aisle. I imagined the shock on his face when he realized what I had done. That thought alone carried me through the stress. The rehearsal dinner was held at a small Italian restaurant, with long tables pushed together and plates of pasta steaming in the middle. Our families and closest friends gathered, laughing and clinking glasses. Ethan sat beside me, charming everyone with stories from Vegas. We had the best time, he bragged, twirling spaghetti on his fork. Bottle service, blackjack, the works. You should have seen Liam trying to dance. Laughter erupted around the table. I smiled politely, but my stomach turned. At one point, Ethan nudged me. "Rachel here's been the frugal one," he said, grinning. "Always cutting corners. If it were up to her, this wedding would have been in somebody's backyard." A ripple of chuckles passed through the group. My face burned. I forced a smile. I just believe in being responsible. Ethan kissed my cheek quickly, as if that erased the sting of his words. "That's why we balance each other out. I know how to have fun. She knows how to save pennies." Everyone laughed again. I laughed too, but inside, my hands curled into fists under the table. Pennies. That's what he thought of my sacrifices. Across the table, Maya caught my eye. Her face was calm, but her look spoke volumes. She knew. She knew about the dress. She knew about the card. She knew this was all temporary, that I had a plan. Her small nod was all I needed to stay steady. Later that night, when we got home, Ethan threw his jacket onto the couch and flopped down beside me. "Seriously, though," he said, pulling out his phone. "This bill is killing me. Why does it feel so high? It's like there's a charge I don't remember." My pulse quickened, but I kept my face neutral. "Maybe you bought more than you realized," I said lightly. "Vegas is expensive." He groaned. "Yeah, maybe. I'll figure it out later." He tossed his phone aside and kissed me quickly before heading to bed. I stayed on the couch a little longer, my heart racing. He was close to noticing, but not yet. The gown was still safe, the secret still mine. As the wedding week approached, things grew tense. There were calls from vendors, last-minute decorations, schedules to finalize. Ethan was distracted, running between errands and complaining about expenses. "Everything costs so much," he muttered one night, flipping through receipts. "It's ridiculous." I nodded calmly, hiding the small smile tugging at my lips. Yes, everything costs so much. Especially the gown he didn't know he had already paid for. At night, when I lay in bed, I thought about what I had done. Was it revenge? Yes. Was it selfish? Maybe. But every time I weighed it against what he had done, blowing thousands on one wild weekend while mocking me for saving pennies, I felt justified. He wanted balance? This was balance. The night before the wedding, Ethan sat on the couch with a beer in his hand. He laughed at something on his phone, then looked at me with a smirk. "Tomorrow's the big day," he said. "You ready, frugal queen?" I smiled tightly. "More ready than you think." He chuckled, completely oblivious. I turned away so he wouldn't see the smirk spreading across my face. Tomorrow, he would find out just how ready I was. If your fiancé mocked you for being frugal while secretly blowing your savings, would you confront him right there, or would you hold your secret until the wedding day like I did? Tell me in the comments, and let me know what time it is where you are. The morning of my wedding arrived with sunlight spilling through the curtains. For a moment, lying in bed, I forgot everything, the savings, the bachelor party, the credit card. For a moment, it was just a quiet morning. Then I remembered. I sat up slowly, my heart thumping. Today was the day. Today, I would walk down the aisle in the gown Ethan had unknowingly bought me. Maya arrived early, carrying a bag full of makeup, bobby pins, and tissues. She hugged me tightly. "You're glowing," she said. "Not because of love, because you know what's coming." I laughed nervously. "Do you think he suspects?" "Not at all," she said firmly. "He's too busy bragging about Vegas to even imagine." I pulled the gown out of its garment bag. Even Maya gasped again, though she had already seen it before. "Rachel," she whispered. "It's breathtaking." I stepped into the dress carefully. The fabric was cool against my skin, the lace soft but strong. Maya zipped it up, and I turned toward the mirror. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I looked like the bride I had always dreamed of being. Elegant, powerful, radiant. Tears welled in my eyes. "This is it," I whispered. "Yes," Maya said, smiling through her own tears. "This is your moment." The church was buzzing when we arrived. Guests in colorful outfits filled the pews. Flowers lined the aisles. Music drifted softly from the organ. As I waited in the bridal room, I could hear laughter and chatter outside. Ethan's voice carried the loudest. He was bragging again, probably retelling the same stories about Vegas. I clenched my hands around my bouquet. Let him laugh. Let him brag. Soon, his face will change. Finally, the music shifted. The doors opened. Everyone stood. My breath caught as I stepped forward. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Heads turned. Phones rose to capture pictures. Whispers floated through the air. "She looks incredible. Where did she get that gown? It's stunning." I kept my head high, my smile steady. The gown shimmered under the lights, every step making it glow like it was alive. At the altar, Ethan's face lit up. His eyes widened, his grin stretched. He looked proud, smug even, as if the beauty of the gown reflected on him. He had no idea. When I reached him, he leaned close and whispered, "Wow. You look amazing. How did you afford this?" I smiled sweetly, my heart pounding. "The same way you afforded Vegas." His smile faltered for just a second. But then the priest began speaking, and he straightened up, trying to act normal. The ceremony went on. The words floated around me, love, commitment, forever, but all I could hear was the beating of my heart. When it was time for vows, Ethan went first. His words were rehearsed, neat, shallow. "I promise to provide. I promise to respect. I promise to..." He smiled at the crowd, soaking up the attention. Then it was my turn. I lifted my chin and said clearly, "I promise to invest in the right places. Not in empty nights, but in things that last." The crowd chuckled politely, thinking it was just poetic. Only Maya, standing to the side, smirked knowingly. Ethan shifted uncomfortably, but the ceremony continued. As we walked out together after the ceremony, the applause echoed around us. People showered us with flower petals. Ethan squeezed my hand tightly. "You were incredible," he whispered. "That line about investing? Brilliant. Everyone loved it." I smiled. "I'm glad." But deep inside, I knew the real investment he had made, the one sitting like a bomb on his credit card bill, hadn't even hit him yet. If you were me, would you let him keep smiling, clueless, or would you pull him aside and drop the truth right then and there? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more sweet wedding revenge stories. The ceremony was over, but the reception had only just begun. The hall sparkled with lights strung across the ceiling, flowers on every table, and music drifting from the band. Guests laughed, glasses clinked, and the smell of roasted chicken filled the air. It should have been perfect. But I was waiting. Waiting for Ethan to notice. During dinner, Ethan leaned close to me, his smile wide. "Rachel, seriously, where did you get this gown? Everyone's talking about it. It must have cost a fortune." I took a sip of champagne, keeping my face calm. "Don't worry about it." He chuckled. "No, really. I know our budget. We didn't have this kind of money left." I tilted my head. Let's just say, it came from the same place your bachelor party did. His smile froze. What does that mean? I turned away, clinking my glass with Maya's. She smirked knowingly. As we stepped onto the dance floor for our first dance, his grip on my hand tightened. Rachel, he hissed softly, his smile fixed for the guests. What are you talking about? I smiled sweetly for the crowd. Spin me. He twirled me, his jaw clenched. When I came back into his arms, I whispered, check your credit card. His eyes flickered with confusion, then suspicion. But before he could say more, the song ended and the crowd applauded. Later, when people were distracted with dessert, Ethan slipped out his phone under the table. I watched from the corner of my eye as his screen lit up. His fingers tapped quickly, scrolling. Then he stopped. His face drained of color. He looked up at me, his mouth slightly open. Rachel. What did you do? I set down my fork calmly. I bought my dream gown. With your card. He leaned in close, his voice sharp but quiet so others wouldn't hear. Are you insane? This charge is huge. Do you know how much this cost? I raised an eyebrow. Do you know how much Vegas cost? Because it looks about the same to me. His eyes widened. That's different. That was my party. Exactly, I said firmly. Your party. Your choice. Your money. So I made my own choice too. The rest of the table carried on, laughing and eating, but Ethan and I were locked in our own little bubble of tension. You can't just do that, he hissed. You went behind my back. I leaned closer, my voice calm. And what did you do, Ethan? You drained our savings behind mine. You didn't ask. You didn't care. You called it tradition. So I made my own tradition. He clenched his jaw, his hands tightening around his phone. You embarrassed me, he whispered. I smiled sweetly. Not yet. The band struck up another lively tune, and guests poured onto the dance floor. Maya grabbed my hand, pulling me up before Ethan could say more. Come on, she laughed, spinning me around. I let her twirl me, laughing, the skirt of my gown flaring out beautifully. All eyes turned to me, compliments flying from every direction. Rachel, that dress is stunning. You look like a queen. Where did you get it? I just smiled and said, it found me. Ethan stood at the edge of the floor, his face pale and furious, his phone clutched tightly in his hand. When I finally sat back down, Ethan leaned over. His voice was low but sharp. This isn't funny. You need to tell me exactly how much this cost. Right now. I lifted my glass and tapped it gently against his. Relax, Ethan. It's tradition. His mouth fell open. For once, he had no words. As I looked around at the laughing guests, the glowing lights, and the swirl of music, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just about a gown. This was about respect. About balance. About showing him that I wasn't going to shrink while he made selfish choices. For the first time in months, I felt strong again. And Ethan? He looked smaller than ever. If you were me, would you have told him the truth at the reception in front of everyone, or would you have kept it between the two of you like I did? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more sweet revenge stories. The morning after the wedding, the house was quiet. The dress hung carefully in the corner of the room, glowing softly in the morning light. For once, I didn't feel guilt or fear. I felt calm. But that calm didn't last long. Ethan stormed into the room, holding his phone like it was evidence. His face was red, his eyes wild. "Rachel," he barked. "We need to talk. Now." I sat up slowly, my voice steady. "Good morning to you too." He ignored me. This insane charge, do you know how much this gown cost?" "Yes," I said simply. His jaw dropped. "And you still bought it? With my card? Without asking me?" I stood, walking over to the dress. I ran my fingers along the lace gently, then turned to him. "Yes. Because you didn't ask me when you drained our savings. Did you?" His mouth opened, but no words came. "That was different," he snapped. "The bachelor party was tradition?" I cut in sharply. "Is that what you're going to say again? That wasting thousands of dollars on a weekend with your friends was tradition?" His face reddened more. "You humiliated me, Rachel. In front of everyone. You acted like some gold digger." I laughed bitterly. "Gold digger? Ethan, you literally used my savings. My sacrifices. I skipped meals out, I skipped shopping, I saved every penny. And you spent it on strippers and blackjack. Don't you dare call me a gold digger." He pointed at me angrily. "You could have just talked to me. You could have told me you wanted the dress. Instead, you went behind my back." I crossed my arms. "And what about you? Did you talk to me before emptying the account? Did you even hesitate?" He faltered. "That's not the point." I stepped closer, my voice low and sharp. "It is exactly the point." Later that day, word had already spread. My aunt called to congratulate me on the wedding, but then her voice dropped. "Rachel, is it true? About the dress?" "Yes," I said honestly. She paused, then said softly, "Good for you. After what he did, you deserved it." I blinked in surprise. "You're not upset?" "Upset?" She laughed. "Sweetheart, he wasted your savings. If anything, I'm proud of you for not letting him walk all over you." More calls came in throughout the day. Friends, cousins, even Ethan's own cousin texted me, "Honestly, Rachel, I don't blame you. He was bragging too much about Vegas anyway." Ethan paced the living room that night, running his hands through his hair. "Why is everyone on your side?" he muttered angrily. "Don't they see what you did?" "Maybe," I said calmly, "they see what you did first." He glared at me. "This isn't fair." I raised an eyebrow. "Fair? You want to talk about fair?" Fair would have been respecting the money we both saved. Fair would have been asking me before spending it. Fair would have been not mocking me for being frugal while you blew cash on shots and slot machines. He clenched his fists, but he had no answer. For the first time in our relationship, I realized something: he couldn't spin this. He couldn't joke it away, or shrug it off, or make me doubt myself. The facts were clear. He had betrayed my trust first. And for once, I had fought back. The next morning, Ethan tried a softer approach. He sat beside me on the couch, his voice gentler. "Rachel," he said, "we're supposed to be a team. We can't start our marriage like this. We need to move forward." I looked at him carefully. Moving forward means honesty. Moving forward means respect. Can you give me that? He hesitated. Just a flicker. But it was enough. I leaned back. That's what I thought. As the days passed, I thought more and more about what had happened. The dress wasn't just a purchase. It was a statement. For once, I hadn't been the one sacrificing everything while he lived freely. For once, he had felt what it was like to lose control. And maybe that was the only way he'd ever learn. If you were me, would you forgive him after this, or would you see it as a warning sign about the future? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to comment where you are watching this video from. The days after the confrontation stretched into weeks. The gown was carefully packed away, but its weight still lingered in my heart. Not because of guilt, but because of what it represented. Every time I glanced at it, I felt the same quiet strength that had carried me through the wedding. The lace, the shimmer, the way it made me feel, it wasn't just a dress. It was proof. Proof that I had finally chosen myself. Ethan kept trying to smooth things over. One evening, he came home with flowers. He placed them on the table, smiling sheepishly. "For you." I looked at the bouquet, then at him. "Are these paid for with what's left of your card limit?" His smile faltered. "Rachel, come on. Don't be like that." But I wasn't joking. I wasn't playing anymore. Another night, he cooked dinner. Pasta, garlic bread, a bottle of cheap wine. He poured me a glass, his eyes pleading. "We can start fresh," he said softly. "No more secrets. No more mistakes. Just us." I studied him for a long time. Part of me wanted to believe him. Part of me wanted to wipe everything away and pretend we could move forward. But deep down, I knew the truth, this wasn't about one mistake. It was about a pattern. A man who thought his wants were more important than our needs. A man who mocked me for saving while he spent freely. Could I trust him not to do it again? I confided in Maya one afternoon over coffee. She stirred her latte slowly, watching me with sharp eyes. "So," she said, "are you going to stay with him?" I sighed. "I don't know. Part of me wants to give him a chance. But part of me feels like this was a preview of the rest of my life." Maya leaned forward. "Rachel, listen to me. A wedding isn't just a party. It's a contract for your future. And if he's already breaking the rules before the ink is dry, what do you think he'll do later?" Her words hit hard. I nodded slowly. "You deserve someone who values you," she added. "Not someone who sees you as a piggy bank." Even my mother, who usually avoided conflict, spoke up. "Sweetheart," she said on the phone, "marriage is about partnership. If he can't respect you now, he won't respect you later. Don't ignore the signs." Hearing her say it, after years of her telling me to be patient, felt like a final confirmation. One night, I sat alone in our bedroom with the lights off. I held the framed picture of me in the gown, the one Maya had snapped before we left for the ceremony. I stared at it for a long time. I whispered to myself, this was never about money. It was about respect. That's when I knew. I couldn't live the rest of my life wondering when the next selfish choice would come. The next morning, I sat Ethan down. "We need to talk," I said. He sighed. "Again?" "Yes. Again." I looked him straight in the eyes. "I don't trust you. And without trust, there is no marriage. I deserve better." He leaned back, stunned. "Are you saying?" "Yes," I said firmly. "I'm saying I'm done." At first, he laughed, like it was a joke. Then he realized I was serious. His face twisted. "You're really going to throw this away over one mistake?" I shook my head. "No. I'm walking away because you showed me who you really are." And I finally listened. He had no reply. He just sat there, staring at me, as I stood and walked away. Weeks later, people still whispered about the wedding. Some called it dramatic. Others called it legendary. But I didn't care anymore. All I cared about was the lesson I carried with me. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone else. Sometimes, it's about building yourself back up. Ethan wasted our savings on a night he barely remembers. I used his card for a gown I'll never forget. And when the dust settled, I realized the gown wasn't just mine. The choice was mine too. He said tradition mattered. He said money didn't. But in the end, I learned that what truly matters is respect. And I promised myself, never again would I let anyone take that from me. If your fiancé blew your savings on a wild bachelor party, would you forgive him and hope for change, or would you walk away like I did? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe for more stories of revenge, justice, and lessons learned.